We'd been in our new neighborhood, a picture-perfect suburban haven, for just 2 weeks when the chaos began. My wife, Sarah, had landed a major promotion, but she was oddly secretive about it. "Honey, don't tell anyone what I do yet," she said, unpacking kitchen boxes with her usual efficiency. "If anyone asks, just say I work in finance." I nodded, trusting her judgment. Sarah was always the sharper one in our 7-year marriage, and if she wanted to keep things quiet, I figured she had her reasons. Little did I know, her secrecy would ignite a neighborhood drama so wild it could have been scripted for reality TV. Our first encounter with Deborah, the HOA president, set the tone. I was wrestling with moving boxes in our front yard, trying to find the garden tools, when I noticed her standing on the sidewalk, arms crossed, staring at our house like it had stolen her parking spot. She was in her late 50s, sporting the classic "I need to speak to your manager" haircut. Short, sharp, and screaming trouble. After watching me struggle for a solid 5 minutes, she marched over with the determination of a drill sergeant. "I'm Deborah, president of the Homeowners Association," she announced, thrusting a binder thicker than a phone book into my hands. "These are the HOA rules. Read every page." I flipped through it, stunned by rules dictating grass height, garage door shades, and even the acceptable angle for trash cans. "Wow, this is thorough," I said, aiming for polite. Her eyes narrowed. "We take our standards seriously. I'll be checking for compliance." Just then, little Tommy, the 8-year-old from next door, zoomed by on his bike, all freckles and enthusiasm. "Hi, mister," he called, then glanced at Deborah, his smile fading. "Why are you always so angry, Mrs. Deborah?" "Kids, they say what everyone's thinking." Sarah chose that moment to step outside, carrying a box labeled "Office." Even in jeans and a t-shirt, she had an air of quiet authority I'd always found magnetic. Deborah's gaze locked onto her like a heat-seeking missile. "And you are?" she demanded, as if Sarah needed a permit to exist. "Sarah, Michael's wife," Sarah replied, setting the box down with a calm smile. "Nice to meet you." Deborah's expression suggested otherwise. "You look familiar. What do you do for work?" Her tone was less curious, more accusatory. "Finance," Sarah said smoothly. "Pretty boring stuff." Deborah didn't buy it, her eyes narrowing further, but Tommy's bike crashing into our mailbox broke the tension. Sarah helped him up, checking his scraped knee, while Deborah watched her every move like a hawk. Over the next few days, Deborah made her presence suffocatingly known. Emails flooded our inbox, each more absurd than the last. Our tree was 2.5 millimeters too tall, our trash cans were 15 degrees off angle, our car extended half an inch past the designated parking line. She copied the entire HOA board, as if building a legal case against us. I wanted to fire back, but Sarah stopped me. "Let her waste her energy," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We've done nothing wrong." Still, I could tell it was getting to her, especially when Deborah started her thrice-daily patrols past our house, slowing to inspect every blade of grass. Neighbors whispered warnings about Deborah's reign of terror. She'd forced the Johnsons to repaint their fence 3 times for not matching Sahara beige exactly. Poor Mrs. Chen had to rehome her Pomeranian after Deborah documented its every bark. Another neighbor mentioned Deborah's son, arrested last year for some misunderstanding, which had turned her into a control freak suspicious of anyone with authority. The pieces were forming a picture, but I had no idea how explosive it would become. The real war started on a Thursday afternoon. I was at work when Sarah called, her voice tight. She'd been on an important video call, unable to answer the door, when Deborah pounded on it for 20 minutes, ringing the bell and peering through windows. When Sarah didn't respond, Deborah screamed, "I know you're in there. I'll show you who runs this neighborhood," loud enough for the whole street to hear. Sarah brushed it off when I got home, but her eyes held a warning. "She's escalating," she said. "People like her don't stop." The next day, I found an official-looking envelope in our mailbox, bursting with self-importance. It was an HOA warning from Deborah, accusing us of violating neighborly communication standards and creating a hostile environment by ignoring her knocks. It threatened $5,000 fines and legal action. I read it aloud to Sarah over dinner, my voice shaking with anger. She scanned it, then laughed, a genuine, amused chuckle. "She's reaching," Sarah said, tearing the letter in half and tossing it in the trash. "Shouldn't we respond?" I asked, anxiety spiking. "Trust me," she said, squeezing my hand. "She's digging her own grave." That night, I barely slept, imagining fines and lawsuits. I even called my mom, half joking about crashing at her place. "Michael, you're 35, she laughed. "You can't run home because of a mean neighbor." She was right, but it didn't help. The next morning, as my coworker Jake drove me home for lunch, my car was in the shop. I spotted Deborah in her yard, setting up a tripod, live streaming and gesturing wildly at our house. "Is she for real?" Jake asked, incredulous. I groaned, dreading what was next. I was making a sandwich when I heard Deborah's voice through the window, now on a phone call, pacing her lawn like a caged animal. "Hello, 911. I need to report an emergency at 3427 Maple Street. There's a suspicious woman who won't answer her door. She could be a criminal." My jaw dropped as she ranted about Sarah being on a wanted poster, citing our moving boxes as strange packages and the pizza guy as unusual visitors. The dispatcher sounded skeptical, asking for actual evidence, but Deborah doubled down, demanding officers immediately. 20 minutes later, sirens wailed. Officer Martinez, a young cop with nervous energy, stepped out of his cruiser. Deborah rushed him, phone in hand, screaming, "She's dangerous. Arrest her," pointing at our house. Martinez, confused, asked for evidence. "She won't answer her door." Deborah shrieked. "That's suspicious." I stepped toward the door, hands shaking, but Sarah beat me to it, emerging from the garage with a confidence I'd never seen. "Good afternoon, officer," she said, hands visible. "Is there a problem?" Deborah screeched, "She's hiding something." Sarah reached behind her back, and Martinez tensed, hand on his weapon. "She's armed," Deborah yelled. But when Sarah revealed a silver badge, Martinez froze. "Chief Johnson, I'm so sorry," he stammered, saluting. "I didn't know it was your residence." My mind reeled. My wife, the finance worker, was the chief of police. Deborah's face cycled through shock, embarrassment, and terror. "That's fake," she gasped. Martinez, rattled, asked if he should arrest her for the false 911 call. Sarah instructed him to document everything: Deborah's harassment, false accusations, and abuse of her HOA position. Neighbors, now openly watching, cheered. Tommy shouted, "I knew she was a cop." Someone yelled, "Karma," as phones recorded the meltdown. The emergency HOA meeting was a circus. Deborah, in a red blazer, presented a slideshow accusing Sarah of excessive force in a 5-year-old case, showing a grainy photo of an injured suspect. "This woman is unfit to be chief," she declared, citing a small-town article about a suspect hospitalized after Sarah's arrest. The crowd murmured, some swayed. Sarah sat calmly, counting silently. Counting what? Then she stood, holding a folded document. "Did you verify that case, Miss Cunningham?" she asked. Deborah faltered. Sarah revealed the suspect, Thomas Mitchell, ran a meth lab, injuring himself in an explosion. "I saved his 3 kids," she said, showing commendations from the mayor and governor. "You showed a manipulated truth." The room erupted, Deborah's slander recorded by dozens of phones. Her motion to demand Sarah's resignation collapsed. Deborah was ousted as HOA president and faced a lawsuit. At the neighborhood movie night, Tommy's viral YouTube video, 3.7 million views, accidentally played on the giant screen, showing Deborah's meltdown in HD. She fled, tripping over a cooler, as 500 people laughed. Her house sold weeks later. She moved to Florida, already making headlines for harassing neighbors over lawn ornaments. Sarah admitted she hit her job due to sensitive investigations. But I overheard her on a late-night call about the Johnson case from 5 years ago, sealed records Deborah might exploit. If she got those, we'd need to move, Sarah said. At the HOA meeting, Sarah's secret weapon was her authority and the truth, backed by official documents. Tommy's now a YouTube star with 100,000 subscribers, and our neighborhood's calm. But Sarah's confidence hints at something bigger, a federal case worth $500 million she's working on. What's she hiding, and what's next?